One of the more common genre buckets indie games seem to find their way into these days is the Metroidvania bucket. Whether it be a side-scroller or a top-down, action platformer or a puzzle game, they're everywhere. I love these kinds of games, and even if the new one I'm playing doesn't bring a whole lot of new ideas to the table and is a little derivative, I tend to enjoy myself. Sometimes, though, a game comes around that brings just enough new ideas to the table while still striking a chord with the foundations of the genre that you get something that's really up my alley, and that's where we have games like Master Key. The developer of Master Key, Achromi, self-describes this game in their Twitter bio as a 2D black and white Zelda-like with Metroidvania inspirations. I always get excited when I hear a game is primarily made by one developer, not only because it's super impressive, but also because it feels like a chance to have a conversation with that person through the game they made about the things they love that inspired them in their process. In the case of Master Key, the key inspirations were Zelda and Metroidvania, two game styles I happen to be quite fond of. Also, this game just happens to come with over 100 Picross puzzles for free right from the main menu, which really makes this game feel like it was made in a lab just to satisfy my brain specifically. I love me some Picross puzzles, and funny enough, the same day this came out on the Switch, Picross S Namco Legendary Edition also came out, so I've really been spoiled on the puzzles the last couple of weeks. This game is described as a 1-bit game. This is in reference to its black and white minimalist art style, and there are never more than 2 colors on the screen at one time. If the black and white are not jiving with you for whatever reason, there are color options to choose from. Whether it be just for aesthetic reasons or for accessibility reasons, I am glad to see plenty of color options for each player to choose from to see what works best for them. Now, while the pixel artwork is solid across the board, with fun, unique designs for all enemies and bosses, there were some areas where the 2-color rule did not do the game any favors and made each screen a little hard to parse through. Screens that have several different types of floor tiles, like different land, water, or obstacles, could sometimes make that area a little busy and difficult to automatically understand the room you're in. This was somewhat rare, but I did notice it a few times in my playthrough. Now let's talk about Zelda and Metroidvanias. It does feel a little silly to call Zelda-likes Metroidvanias, as it almost feels a little redundant, but for the sake of this video, the easiest comparison of Master Key for a Zelda game for me that comes to mind is Minish Cap. There was a real emphasis in Minish Cap to go back and re-explore the entire map of the game when you got new upgrades, similar to a Metroidvania, finding optional equipment, upgrades, collectibles, or just some extra chests with money. Master Key really feels like it's drawing inspiration from that design in its map layout. Early game, you'll constantly find different obstacles barring your path or an extra chest just out of reach on a screen-to-screen basis that feels like knowing every time you get a new upgrade, I could re-explore and interact with the world in a new way, which is the perfect carrot on a stick to keep me playing. And when I first started playing the game, I was feeling the Zelda vibes, but the game really wasn't blowing my socks off. If you've played a 2D Zelda, whether it be Link to the Past, or the Oracle games, or Minish Cap, what have you, you know all the tropey block push puzzles, the dungeons that heavily rely on their special new item hidden inside of them, the hidden walls, ice sliding puzzles, you name it, you've probably done it. But where Master Key really sets itself apart is the extremely intricate optional puzzles and secrets that litter the map. Using a combination of items and re-exploring with a curious mind will bring you to sections of the map that you will not otherwise be able to get to. Treating anything odd you may find at a dead end as a clue to figuring out how you should interact with those things will reward you greatly with secret upgrades or music records to listen to on the main menu. It's also worth pointing out that this title has 0 words or text of any kind in it, not even in the menus. You really have to piece together things for yourself, and I think the game was actually very good at conveying the information you needed to know through symbols or animations without the need for any words. Very late in the game, there was one particular upgrade I knew I was super close to figuring out, but for the life of me I just couldn't find that last missing piece. I ended up stumbling upon the Master Key Discord, which is full of a very engaged fan base of passionate players all working to help each other out and give hints on puzzles they were stuck on. Reading through the conversations, I was able to get a starting point on the puzzle I was stuck on, and then after busting out a literal pen and paper and drawing symbols and doing math on my desk at midnight, I was finally able to understand the solution that was evading me, and it was extremely satisfying to pull off. Reading through more of the Discord also keyed me on just how much there was under the hood of this game that you won't immediately find unless you really look for it. Master Key was not designed around combat difficulty from what I can tell, but it's by no means easy. Enemies are placed in ways that can really be a thorn in your side sometimes, whether it just be a crow hiding in trees, in the woods, or an alligator submerged in water as you walk by to sneak up and hit you. I feel like for the most part, I was keeping up with the tougher enemies as the game went through with weapons upgrades and gathering more health, but I did notice a pretty sharp difficulty spike in the late game. Those enemies really didn't pull any punches and provided a great endgame challenge. One slightly annoying thing though that was present throughout the entire game was the enemy knockback. This game is a screen-based game, and all too often I would walk into a new screen and get bombarded by an unexpected enemy, and the aggressive knockback would push me back into the screen I just came from, really punishing me not only from a damage perspective, but also from my own personal time perspective, as the game would just throw me back where I just came from and I had to reload the next screen again. But if the game is feeling too tough for you or too easy for you, there is a difficulty slider in the pause menu, and from what I could tell, there was really no punishment in using this, so that was a welcome change. I haven't touched on any dungeons or bosses a whole bunch yet, but they definitely play a role in this game. I don't want to give too many details for risk of spoiling things, but you can expect traditional 2D Zelda-like themed dungeons that are maybe not as intricate or as long as something you'd find in Link to the Past, but definitely built with an understanding of how Zelda dungeons work that were more than satisfactory. Dungeons will give you new items and upgrades to solve more puzzles and add to your arsenal, and are capped off with really cool, unique, and challenging bosses that have great animations and boss music. On the negative side, I do want to point out there were a handful of moments where I experienced some technical problems in the Nintendo Switch version, but I never really felt like it affected my experience all that much. I had maybe 4 to 5 crashes the entire 15-hour playthrough, one of which was during the end credits. There was also some weird loading issues where entering some new areas the game would really chug hard for about 5 seconds or so before catching its breath and going back to full speed. Master Key is yet another great Zelda-inspired game on the Switch, as well as Steam, and I'm more than happy I decided to put time towards it. Indie Metroidvanias or Zelda-likes may seem like a dime a dozen, but games like Master Key can really push through to that next level and make them feel not just like a copycat standing on the shoulders of giants, but something impressive enough to push the genre forward in its own way. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, it would mean a lot if you could leave a like or a comment down below. If you want to see more videos like this, please hit that subscribe button that looks oddly enticing. You should push that and see what happens. I hope you had as good a time watching this video as I had making it. Thanks again for watching, and see you next time.